Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So today we are going to study the remaining two subsections of the part 3 of the last part of the book 8, the part 3, which was about his likes and dislikes. And in this, we have already studied these two subsections, which were titled as one, his dislike of poverty, and second, his dislike of the acquisitive instinct. And we have seen as to how Baba Ambedkar has covered at depth and length the various dimensions of the Buddha and his Dhamma. And this particular subsections, subsection 3 and 4, which are titled as his joy at the beautiful and his love for the lovely, are equally important because they sort of give us some of the deeper understanding into what constitute the Buddha's Dhamma and how we can practice it. So these are these two subsections, which also happen to be the last subsections of the Buddha and his Dhamma. After that, the Buddha and Dhamma goes into epilogue and a prayer for a vow to spread his Dhamma and a prayer for his return to his native land. So we are as if at the end of the Buddha and his Dhamma, but though it's the end of the Buddha and his Dhamma in terms of the books, which were 8 in number, and even despite of that, what we are going to study has got tremendous value. So let me begin by reading it, and then I'm going to gloss over some of the very important and essential points that are included here in this particular subpart, part 3. So subpart 3, the title is his joy at the beautiful. So it begins with the verse number 1. The Buddha was so fond of the beautiful that he might well bear an allies and be called the lover of the beautiful. Now you see the beautiful, or what is called the Kalyan in traditional Pali terms, or in Buddhist Sanskrit language, is a very important term in Buddhism, that having love for the beauty. And as Baba Ambedkar makes very clear in this particular verse, that the second name of the Buddha, of course, the Buddha means the awakened one, and the second name of the Buddha can be the lover of beauty. So I think this is a very important point, that the enlightened nature of a person has been equated with the beauty. And that's why in Buddhism, if we see the Buddhist traditions or culture, we see that there was a tremendous emergence of what is called the beauty all over the places. You see the arts, for example, the paintings that we see in the Buddhist history. We see the Buddhist poetry. We see the what is called the important sort of creative developments in the history of Buddhism, and even the teaching of the Buddha is very beautiful. The way the Buddha has arranged his teaching, the way Buddha has narrated his understanding is also very beautiful. It's in the realm of the beauty. The Dhamma itself, when the Nirvana is often compared with a very sublime, beautiful experience. So we see that as the Buddha, though he is an awakened one, the Buddha means an awakened one, but also his allies, as Baba Ambedkar says, that he can be called the lover of the beauty, lover of the beautiful. So what is the beauty? Anything that makes our mind come in contact with what is higher and higher. is beautiful. And when we are talking about the nirvana, or attainment of various mental stages in the Buddhist practices, we can experience that kind of a beauty all the time. So, and the ultimate beauty is, of course, when one is enlightened, or when one is Buddha or fully awakened one can understand how what is the nature of that experience. The nature of the experience of enlightenment is what is ascetic. Aesthetic is a science of beauty. That's a Western term, but we cannot capture it in the narrow terminologies of words or colors or sounds. It sometimes transcends that. So whenever we encounter any piece of beauty, uh, our minds are turned upside down, and that we can experience if we encounter beautiful objects. So in the verse number 2, so he preached to his followers. So this is what the Buddha preached to his followers: be in the company of the lovely. So the Buddha told his people to be in the company of the lovely, company of the people who are aspiring to experience that beauty, or who have already awakened to that beauty, or even it can mean anything that can take us higher. As I said, that can be termed as beautiful in this Buddhist context. So he preached to his followers, be in the company of the lovely. So that's one of the greatest teachings, one of the important teachings of the Buddha, to shun what is depressing, to shun what pulls you down, to shun what is, to use the word ugly, and always try to be in the company of lovely, something that leads us to the higher and higher and higher, higher and higher stages of experience, and ultimately to freedom. So, addressing the bhikkhus, he said, monks, I know not of any other single thing of such power to cause the arising of good state, if not it arisen, or the waning of evil states already arisen, at friendship with the lovely. You see, there is a term which we often see in the Buddhist culture, which is called the Kalyanmitra, and it can be translated as in English as a spiritual friend, and somebody who offers a guide to us on the path. So, for example, if we read the Buddhist text, or for example, if you read Vipassana Research Institute's editorial, where Satyanarayan Goenka used to sign as Kalyanmitra, and so many places you can see this word Kalyanmitra. So this is a beautiful word, Kalyanmitra, and Kalyanmitra word has a connotation of friendship with the lovely, or on lovely friends. So this is a matter of debate as to how we interpret this word Kalyanmitra. We can interpret it in terms of our relationship with each other. So Buddhist Sangha is all about developing, cultivating this kind of the friendship with the lovely. So it also means the human beings. It also means the sublime Dhamma. It also means everything that help us to take us further and further and further, deeper and deeper and deeper. So I found this word very interesting here, as Baba Ambedkar has translated here: friendship with the lovely, Kalyan Mitrata. We have to befriend what is lovely, what is beautiful. So in one who is a friend of what is lovely, good state not arisen do arise, and evil state already arisen when. So you see, this is about the what is called the Samma Vayamo. And if we know about this aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path, that the arising of the good state, if they are not arisen, and the waning of the evil state already arisen, and good state not arisen do arise, evil state already arisen when. So there are four aspects of what is called the Samma Vayamo, or the right efforts. And in order for us to work with the right efforts, it's very important for us to have the friendship with the lovely. It's very important to have the friendship with what is beautiful. So one of the ways by which we can see it in terms of the Buddha and Dhamma itself, because it's the Buddha and Dhamma if we rightly engage with it, it acts as a Kalyanmitra. It acts as a friendship with the lovely, as we often talk in the class, that this is a book. It's just not a book. It is the heart of Baba Saheb Ambedkar. It is the living mausoleum of Baba Saheb Ambedkar, as Chitnis Sahib put it. So you see, whenever we are engaging with this lovely book, when we are engaging with the lovely Dhamma, when we are engaging with the people who are well versed in the Dhamma, then it has a power to create in our minds certain mental states, and the waning or the declining of the certain mental states. So the as the verse number 4 and 5 goes, if we have developed, or we are developing friendship with the lovely, arising of good state if not arisen. So if there are no good state which has arisen in our mind, good mental states, they arise by virtue of being in friendship with the lovely. And those evil state which are there already arisen, they are gone. And good state not arisen do arise, and evil state already arisen when. So evil states and devotion to evil states when, lack of devotion to good state disappear, good state and devotion there to arise, lack of devotion to evil state increases. So you see, this is one of the very dynamic aspects of the Dhamma that we are seeing at work in the verse number 4 and 5, where generally when we are talking about the right efforts, we talk in terms of meditative states. But here, if we observe clearly, we can see that there are certain ways by which we can work on our minds, and one of the ways by which we can work on our minds is by cultivating the friendship with the lovely. And in the some of the latter Buddhist traditions, this Kalyanmitra was taken to a level where the living contact with somebody who is enlightened was considered to be a very important part of one's practice. And then it gave rise to what is called in the Tibetan tradition, what is called the Guru devotion, and so on and so forth. But here suffice is for us to understand the importance of friendship with the lovely, friendship with anything beautiful that lifts us up, that takes us higher, that makes our mind more creative, that makes our mind more positive. So monks, I know not of any other single thing of such power to prevent the arising of the limbs of wisdom, if not arisen. And if they have already arisen, to prevent their reaching fulfillment by cultivation thereof as unsystematic attention. So you see, arising of the limbs of wisdom, bodhanga. Okay, so you see this, friendship with the beautiful, friendship with the lovely it leads to the arising of the wings of wisdom. And if they have already arisen, to prevent their reaching fulfillment by cultivation thereof as unsystematic attention. So this is a very technical word. Unsystematic attention means ayanuso manasikara. And we know there is a very important technical term, yoniso manasikara, means our profound, our foundational awareness and attention. So this is the, if we do not cultivate what is called the friendship with the lovely, then our attention is misdirected. Our attention is misdirected, and when our attention is misdirected, it can never lead to the development of the limbs of wisdom or bojanga, and we cannot reach to the fulfillment of the cultivation thereof. So in order to train our minds in a right attention, yoniso manasikara, it's very important to cultivate the friendship with what is lovely, because it brings us attention back to where it matters, and what we attend to we become. So the attention has got a very it's like a gateway to the right attention, is a gateway to the enlightenment, it said. So in whom practices unsystematic attention amongst the limbs of wisdom, if not arisen, arise not, and if arisen, they reach not fulfillment by cultivation thereof. Of slight account, monk, is the loss of such things as relatives. So if we lose our relatives, it's a very slight loss. But miserable indeed among losses is the loss of wisdom. So if we lose our wisdom, it is the greater loss. Of the slightest account, monks, is the increase of such things as relatives. Chief of all the increases is that of wisdom. Therefore, I say, monks, ye should train yourself thus. We will increase in wisdom. You must train yourself to win that. Of slight account, monks, is the increase of such things as well. Chief of all the increases is that of wisdom. Therefore, I say, monks, thus must ye train yourself. We will increase in wisdom. You must train yourself to win that. Of slight account, monks, is the loss of such things as reputation. Miserable indeed is the loss of wisdom. See, of all the mundane gains, like the gains of relatives or gains of wealth or gains of reputation, what the Buddha is saying that the most important is to win wisdom. And to win wisdom, we have to cultivate what is called the systemic attention, yoniso manasikara. And when we cultivate the we have to if we have to train our attention in a direction that will free our mind, what we need to do is we have to practice what is called the friendship with the lovely or the fellowship with the lovely. So I think the Buddha he begins from what is called the Kalyanmitra, a very important word in the Buddhist tradition and in the Buddhist sanghas. And how that fellowship or friendship with the lovely can help us to attain the wisdom. And therefore, the crux of the matter is this, that the friendship with the beautiful, with the lovely, is of tremendous importance, and that's a part of our practice. And hence we see that in the Buddhist history, it has got such a profound proliferation of what we can call the beautiful arts and beautiful objects, isn't it? Just to think about the way the Buddha's image is carved, if you happen to visit any of the Buddhist caves like Ajanta or Ellora, you cannot but affected by that profound beauty. Or sometimes just to think about a great person like Baba Ambedkar or his life, they are like the symbols of beauty, lovely. And to be in contact with such a profound beautiful objects or beautiful beings, we tend to increase in terms of our wisdom. And that is what matters, as the Buddha says here in this particular subsection, is joy at the beautiful. So I'm going to move further and going to cover the last subpart, his love for the lovely. So you see his joy at the beautiful and his love for the lovely. So this is very interesting sort of a praise in when it comes in English, his love for the lovely. So the Buddha was a lover of beauty. The Buddha was a lover of lovely. And as Baba Ambedkar says, his another name can be the lover of what is beautiful, or lover of the beautiful. So his love for the lovely, let's look at it. Once the exalted one was staying among the Sakyans at Sakkara, Sakyan township. Then Venerable Ananda came to exalted one, saluted him, and sat down at one side. So seated, the Venerable Ananda said this. So this is what Venerable Ananda said to the Buddha. The harp of the holy life, Lord, is friendship with what is lovely, association with what is lovely, intimacy with what is lovely. So, this has taken place in the Sakyan township of Sakkara, where Venerable Ananda came to the Buddha and he exclaimed this. He said, the harp of the holy life, Lord, is friendship with what is lovely. So you see, he's saying that harp of the life of the Dhamma is to cultivate this Kalyanmitra, or this lovely association with what is lovely, intimacy with what is lovely. You see the grade, it's very beautifully graded. It's like a crescendo. What is lovely, association with what is lovely, and intimacy with what is lovely. Getting to know the beautiful more intimately, more closely. So there is a degree of appreciation of beauty. There is a degree of relationship between people, and one of the important aspects of Buddhism is to cultivate this kind of friendships, the deeper and deeper friendships with each other. And that's what is the Buddhist Sangha is all about. And the half of the holy life, Lord, is friendship with what is lovely, association with what is lovely, intimacy with what is lovely. And the Buddha answers back, say not so, Ananda, say not so, Ananda. He says, do not say like that, Ananda. Do not say like that. It is the whole, not the half of the holy life. This friendship, this association, this intimacy with what is lovely. So the Buddha says that it is the whole, it is the total, not half of the holy life. So the Buddha Dhamma is all about, it's totally about this friendship, this association, this intimacy with what is lovely. Now, what is lovely is of course, can be the Dhamma. It can be, our own practice. It can be our friendship with those who are trading similarly on the path that we are trading. Sometimes they may be advanced than us. Sometimes, a mere friendship can help us a lot. So you see, cultivating this kind of the friendship with what is lovely is the total of the Buddhist life. And I think this particular passage can be interpreted in many ways, in all different levels. Ultimately, it is to develop, cultivate this very close, intimate relationship or intimacy with the loveliest in the world, that is the Buddha himself, isn't it? That's a great act of devotion when we cultivate this kind of the Shraddha for the Buddha, isn't it? And we see that the faith has a power to cross the flood. Saddhaya tarati vogo, that's what is said in the Dhammapada. So you see, this is very important, to have faith or to have intimacy or to have association or to have friendship with the loveliest, isn't it? The highest state of beauty, the highest, to use the word manifestation of beauty. So it can flower, this friendship with beauty or intimacy with beauty can flower in our day-to-day relationship with people, in our association with something higher, for example, with the Buddha and his Dhamma, with the life and mission of Buddha, Baba Sahib, the great beings, and we can sometimes see that we need living friends, and many a times we need such kind of a friendship with the living beings around us. And if we are trying to walk on the same path, and as if we are open to helping each other, that also is one of the very important aspects of what is called the Kalyanmitra, or the friendship or association or intimacy with what is lovely. So now in the first subsection of part 3, we were talking about how the friendship with the beauty company of the lovely or beauty can lead us to wisdom. But here, is very important and interesting presentation as to what this Kalyanmitra does. Of a monk who is a friend, an associate, an intimate of what is lovely, we may expect this, that he will develop the Aryan Eightfold Path, that he will make much of the Aryan Eightfold Path. You see, this is very important. So the Kalyanmitrata or friendship with the lovely or intimacy with what is lovely has this power to help us to develop Aryan Eightfold Path, and that he will make much of the Aryan Eightfold Path. So we can begin to practice the Eightfold Path much more than we can expect if we develop this attitude, this inclination towards beauty. And how Ananda does such a monk develop and make much of the Aryan Eightfold Path? Here in Ananda, he cultivates the right view, which is based on detachment, on dispassion, on cessation, which ends in self-surrender. He cultivates the right aim, which is so based and concerned. Likewise, right speech, right action, right living, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, which ends in self-surrender. You see, this is a very important word, self-surrender. And ultimately, we begin to take ourselves as our own refuge. Attahi attano natho. That's what the Buddha taught, that we are our own refuge. And I think this is very beautifully explained in terms of how we can be our own light, attadipa bhava. And how do we become, we take refuge in ourselves is through practicing the Noble Eightfold Path, Aryan Eightfold Path. And how do we, practice the Noble Eightfold Path? By associating with those who have already had, gone ahead on this Noble Eightfold Path, Aryan Eightfold Path, or or association with what is highest, what is higher, what is beautiful. And that Ananda is how a monk who is a friend, an associate, an intimate of what is lovely, cultivates and makes much of the Aryan Eightfold Way. This is the method, Ananda, by which you are to understand how the whole of this holy life consists in friendship, in association, in intimacy with what is lovely. So this is a very important statement here, because the Buddha, has been talking about the practices. Most of the times when we come across Buddhism, we come across so many rules and regulations. And but what the Buddha did in his entire life, he taught people the practices as to how to overcome particular thing, methods. And the highest method that has been taught to cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path so that we can become our own masters is through cultivation of what is called the friendship or association or intimacy with what is lovely. And the verse number 9 says that this is the method. So this is the method, Ananda, by which you are to understand how the whole of this holy life consists in friendship, in association, intimacy with what is lovely. So this is very, very interesting. So if there is anything, any particular attitude that we need to develop in practice of Dhamma, is to cultivate this intimacy with beautiful. And the most beautiful thing in the world is the Dhamma itself. And then some of the people manifest that Dhamma. We can develop that friendship. We can develop friendship at all the levels, isn't it? We don't have to develop the friendship in a hierarchical way. We have to develop the friendship in any manner, diagonal, vertical, horizontal, whatever ways. The most important point is to experience that metta, or that maitri, or that transcendence of your own limited self view into a view that encompasses all the sentient beings, as Baba Ambedkar has put in a very formalic way. So as I am, so they are. And as I am, so they are is the real heart of the matter. When we cultivate this kind of friendship with human beings, or friends, we ourselves transcend that kind of the narrow self view. And you see this cultivating this friendship or metta. It is said that in the Buddhist tradition, the Buddha taught many meditations. The Buddha taught anapanasati, the Buddha taught other forms of meditation. And in the Buddhist history, we see so many forms of meditation. But one of the meditation that is considered to be very important, and now it is said that it can reach up to the Nibbana itself, is the cultivation of metta. And when the more we cultivate the metta in our and our mind is imbued with I won't say love, but metta, in terms of and metta has a connotation of what is called the it itself is beautiful. Maitri itself is beautiful. Maitri itself is kalyan. The right maitri is itself a kalyan, isn't it? The right contact with a right ideal itself is a kalyan, isn't it? So I think befriending Baba Saheb Ambedkar, being in friendship, in association, in intimacy with what Baba Saheb Ambedkar was, or what the Buddha was, or the host of bodhisattvas there is, we can in our lives we can begin to see that how we can cultivate the more and more refined mental states. So the verse number 10 goes like this: indeed, Ananda, beings liable to decay, liable to death, liable to grief, woe, lamentation, and despair are liberated therefrom because of their friendship with what is lovely. You see, the promise of liberation is granted, of their friendship with what is lovely. It is by this method, Ananda, that you are to understand how the whole of this holy life consists in friendship, in association, in intimacy with what is lovely. So you see what we arrive at, yeah, at the end of the last book of the Buddha's Dhamma. We have come to a method. We have come to a kind of a path that can help us to lead the total Dhamma life, and that is cultivating the friendship, that is cultivating metta, that is cultivating maitri. But with what? With the beautiful, with Kalyan. And this word Kalyan comes in the very early suttas, when the Buddha says, my Dhamma is Adi Kalyanam, Madhya Kalyanam, and Anta Kalyanam. My Dhamma is beneficial in the beginning, is beneficial in the middle, and is beneficial in the end, isn't it? So wherever, whatever stations we are, when we begin to come in contact with the Buddha's teachings, it has that quality to benefit us, isn't it, in all different ways. So you see this word Kalyan and Kalyan Mitrata, or Kalyan Mitrata has been interpreted in many ways. One of the ways by which it is interpreted is our living friendships with each other, or living friendships within a particular framework of developing our minds. And here Baba Ambedkar has given a very profound interpretation of what is called the Kalyan Mitrata in terms of the friendship with the lovely. And this is coming at the end of the Buddha's Dhamma, which means that it has got certain importance. It has got a very deep importance for the society. So are we in a society, cultivating this kind of a friendship which leads to the beautiful, and if this is a friendship with the beauty itself? So that's a big question for us. Or are we involved in the kind of ugly friendships, friendship with, longing for something ugly or longing for something beautiful? Are our friendship based on narrow sort of, gains, like gains for relatives, gains for wealth, and gains for reputation? Or our friendships are meant to help each other to cultivate the wisdom? These are all very important questions, and pertains to the society that Baba Ambedkar brought the Buddhism back into. And these are the questions, these are the method. This is the method. Mitrata is the way. Not ordinary Mitrata. Kalyan Mitrata is the way. And that is what is beautifully expounded here in the last subpart of the book 3 of the book 8 of the Buddha's Dhamma. So I think we formally, we have come to what is called the end of the book 8. And we have covered book 8 books so far, studying from last, nearly 2 years. And the remaining 3, epilogue and a vow to spread his Dhamma, and 3, a prayer for his return to his native land, which we are going to cover each of the section in each class. So that's going to be of a tremendous importance to look back at the Buddha's Dhamma from a different perspective. So I will stop here, and I will open up the class for any reflections, anything you would like to share. So anybody has anything to share?
So in the last chapters, meaning of Samma Vyayama is given very nicely in verse number 4. That the arising of good states. If every time we have to take the efforts not to have evil thoughts in the mind. If they are already arisen, then we should try to eliminate them.
Yes.
And try to cultivate the good, wholesome thoughts.
Yes.
Lead to wholesome actions. So always we should try to have good states of mind. And if they are already present, then we should try to further develop, strengthen them.
Right.
Good states of mind.
True, true, very true.
Sir, as we have came at the end of this Buddha and his Dhamma,
Yes.
now can we take up book by book so that we all read it again and start covering a book in a session?
Right, right, right. You mean summary of the, this thing. What I was thinking, what to do next is to really, prepare kind of 20 lectures out of this Buddha and Dhamma in Hindi, because there is a larger audience of Hindi, right?
Yes, sir.
So what I was thinking is, I'm working on that, to prepare about 20 lectures, which will be in Hindi, 1 hour each, so that, people can benefit, and we can do it on Zoom so that you all can join in. And I will see how I can do, because I was thinking that each book can be divided into 3 or 2. So let's see how we are going to do it, right?
Yeah, it's a
So,
beautiful idea.
yeah, and in your ways you can begin to now, as I said, that most of you are now well read in the Buddhism, and this studying for such a long period has its own benefits. And you can begin to now talk about Buddhism, teach the Buddhism wherever you can, isn't it? It just take a page, explain it, read it, encourage other people to read and understand, practice, isn't it?
Yeah, we can do in that manner also, as we are doing in this writing and speeches of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Sir Baba Sahib. We can pick up one topic and one title, and in that title, what Buddha and Dhamma is saying, that can be summed up.
Yes. It's an excellent idea. It's an excellent idea.
Thank you, Doctor. We all together. It's a teamwork, I think, teamwork effort. And with your mentoring and guidance, we can develop something to spread all these messages. And first we have to follow, and then we have to lighten the others.
We got another 3 or 4 classes to go, because the book is not finished yet. And as we will see that these are also very important aspects of the Buddhism that we need to understand, to understand the Buddhism in its totality. So we will have 3 more classes coming up on the Buddhism, and before we end our study of the Buddhism. So anything on this,
Sir,
Dara?
sir, I wanted to share about beauty, the excess of nature and art and architectures. So it has a class connection. So underprivileged does not have access to beauty. So in the house of the underprivileged, everything has a utility. So this utility of beauty is not realized. They not have a scope of beauty in the paintings and the arts and nature also, because they don't have space around for the trees and flowers and.
No, very good point. Very good point. That's a material aspect of beauty, Dara. But if you look at the Buddha was not a rich man, or his followers were not rich men. They have all renunciated their private properties, right?
Yes.
Isn't it? So, that is one way of talking about beauty in terms of the artistic objects, isn't it? But there are many ways by which the beauty can unfold in it without having that access to the objects of arts, right?
Yes.
Because art is an experience, right? And whenever, as it is put in the context that anything that takes us higher, so a good communication with a good friend can be lovely, right?
Right, Kabir has written is an expression of art.
Like, what is it? Please share with us.
It is that is our expression of our feelings. To Kabir has written various things.
Right. So you see, there are many ways by which the beauty is expressed. And human relationship, it can be beautiful, right? Relying
Yes,
on somebody, some friends, and to be able to, turn around, share, talk to them can be beautiful, right?
yes, yes,
Reading the Buddhism can be beautiful experience. It can be an association of friendship with the lovely, right? So whenever we're talking about beautiful, there is not one, it's not just limited to the objects. And some of the objects that we see in the physical form has this tremendous power on our consciousness, right?
yes,
That's
yes,
why the symbols and the images matter so much,
yes,
isn't it? But the object which makes us, lifts us up, or the relationship that lifts us up, the friendship that lifts us up, the friendship or any experience that takes us higher, can be classed as a beautiful, right? So
yes,
your point is very, very, very right. The rich people have access to the artistic objects that generally the poor people doesn't have, because they are struggling with day-to-day life. That doesn't mean that in the day-to-day life there cannot be beauty, right?
yes. Sir, can I share my experience with
Please,
practicing Buddhism
please,
if we
please,
have time?
please, Dara, go on.
So I started practicing for 2 or 3 years. It's in a phase of learning only,
Mhm.
but it has definitely made me emotionally more stable.
Good.
But it's like working as a safety valve sometimes. So it's not letting blast something.
Very good.
So it has sometimes don't we need that passion in, and it can become creative or destructive force
Yes.
behind something.
Yes.
So sometimes I feel I've become emotionally numb, and I don't feel extreme joy or sadness. So this rationality and I calculate everything. It has led to a decline in passion. So this if we are passionate about something, so we don't think much. So before doing something, for example, of the mountain man Manji, if he would have think rationally, he would not have done that task. So 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 being in a state of passion, it not sustainable. Our body would rebel against it after some time.
Mhm.
But don't we need that passion sometimes? And so in
Mhm.
my childhood, I used to believe in God. So it was a very happy phase. Then became atheist. So it was depressing. Atheist become atheism. Then this Buddhism. So it has not a very joy or sadness. It the emotional graph is very much linear. So sometimes I feel, is this good, or that we required this passion, or that?
See, actually, as we have seen in the Buddhism or study of Buddhism, is the Buddhism is the religion of joy, isn't it? It's a very wrong view that the Buddhists have to be cut and dry. And this is the Buddha often talks about the joy, the happiness, and of course the nirvana is equated with the highest happiness, mahasukha. And we have seen, in the Buddhism, the nibbana is not something dry. It's a highest sort of the happiness that one can attain to. So it's a very wrong view of the Buddhism that the Buddhists have to be emotionally neutral, or emotionally dry. That's not the Buddhism that the Buddha taught. What the Buddha taught is how to celebrate life, how to celebrate the friendship, how to celebrate the beauty, how to celebrate what can be termed as one's advancement, and cultivation of mind. The most important is the cultivation of mind. So when we cultivate our mind in a way that the Buddha has taught us, in terms of cultivating the loving kindness, isn't it? The person who is full of loving kindness, will ever experience the happiness, isn't it? There is no case of sorrow or suffering for them. So you see, this is to think of Buddhism in emotionally dry terms is not to do justice with Buddhism, isn't it? And it is the Buddha, of course, asks us to cultivate what is called the Vivek and examine everything. And Vivek means to know the truth as untruth as untruth. And knowing truth as truth doesn't lead to any depressing things. It leads to the reality. For example, we foolishly assume that there is some God who will be taking care of us, and we place our heart onto the external agency for our own happiness. But that's not going to happen. The whatever happiness we aspire, we have to be able to find that within, isn't it? To bring, so what does the Buddhist practices do? They bring everything back to us, make us more responsible for our joys and suffering, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely empowering, taking our lives in our own hands, so not believing in anything external.
Yes. So you begin to know what makes you happy and what makes you sad,
Yes, yes,
isn't it? So when you know, you have a choice, isn't it?
yes,
And when you have a choice, you are free. If you don't have a choice, if you just are choiceless and just be at the whims and fancies of your unconscious mind, isn't it?
yes,
For some time you might feel happy, but in the longer term it might lead to further suffering. We don't know,
yes, yes,
isn't it?
So
So
it's an individuality. I hope that the perspective generates. Yeah, as the art kind of things has been discussed in that in one sentence came into my mind. Artist is not a special kind of a person, but every person is a special kind of artist. So they can grab the things, they can grab the beauty as per their exposures, as per their understandings, and the light in form of Buddha and his Dhamma and various literatures of Buddhism, we can beautify our perspectives.
true. Very true.
Yes, Rahul here. I would just like to comment on this one. Means sometimes, means lot of time people says that we should follow the middle way. We should not feel extreme passionate about something, or there should be some middle way. But so far as the Dhamma thirst is concerned, there are a couple of suttas in which Buddha actually gives guideline to his disciple that means how they can increase their want for enthusiasm. Means he advises that unless and until you can increase your want, means in other word we can say, if you can we can use the word desire. So he advised how to increase that one, how to increase that passion. So basically means he tell them that you should use the increase the chanda, the viraya, the chitta, and the vimamsa. So that is how you can increase it, but that is for developing yourself. That is for developing such a qualities that ordinary human being cannot develop, and that require a lot of devotion. So that guideline is provided in some of the suttas. I will name 4 or 5 of them. One is Sanyutta Nikaya, Apara Sutta, then Viradha Sutta, that is also Sanyutta Nikaya, Arya Sutta, Sanyutta Nikaya, Nibbada Sutta, and Idhipadesa Sutta. So that all means are for another is the Samatta Sutta. So then Bhikkhu Sutta. So all these suttas, there are a couple of more as well. So these are around this how you should be passionate about, or how you can increase your want. You can have the chanda to develop whatever you want to achieve.
Yes. No, that's a very, very important point, Rahul bhai, that you put. There are two, Dhamma Chanda and the Kama Chanda. So Dhamma Chanda is the, getting into the grip of higher and higher things. And Kama Chanda means, living day-to-day life in response to the stimulation which is brought by our senses, right? That's a Kama
Correct.
Chanda.
Yeah.
So we have a choice whether we want to, cultivate our mind to the higher level or live in relationship with the objects, or do we live in relationship with what is called the very sublime mental states, isn't it? So that's a choice. So if we choose to live in in response to the sense stimulations, that's one level. We all live on that level. When we see something beautiful, we want it. When we hear something, we want to hear it all the time, and so on. But there is a limit to it. But Dhamma Chanda is about cultivating the interest, or cultivate what is called the love for the Dhamma Chanda. And Dhamma here means anything that takes our mind to more sublimer levels, and that's a choice, as Rahul said here. And suppose if somebody has an interest in, say, for example, passing certain exam, so they will think about it all the time. That's called the chitta. And it's not enough to think about it all the time, but we need an energy to pursue that, virya. And what we are going to do, how we are going to do, you need to examine vimansa. So you see, these all four ties together with our discussion here, in terms of, if we develop the intimacy with lovely, isn't it? It automatically propels our mind, creates an energy to reach to that, and then we can examine how we can reach to that. So it's true about, this is called the siddhi bird or iddhi bird. It's true about anything that you want to achieve in the world. So if you want to achieve in the world anything, you have to have great interest in that. For example, to give you a mundane example, if you are not interested in studying mathematics, we are not going to master mathematics, right? So if we are not interested in certain topics, we are never going to study them. Our energies will be dried up. So the most important thing, as Rahul Bhai has said, is to have that profound interest in something.
Very well explained, sir, because this Riddhi and Siddhi, whatever you say, that is still very much confusion even to the Buddhist people. And you explained it very simple way. That's yeah.
If you are 24 hours thinking about some certain thing, for example, dreaming of becoming, in Dhara's case, some kind of a civil servant. If you are 24 hours thinking about that, interested in that, then you automatically, your mind will be tuned to that, studying this subject, going deeply, restless, working hard for, say, 14 hours, 15 hours, right? And, trying to find the ways to reach there, right, Dara?
Yes, sir.
So the most important thing is to have interest, right?
Yes, sir. This cultivation of mind should the aim of the human existence means our human mind is not fully explored yet.
It's not fully cultivated.
Yeah, so we need to tap into the mind, the unexplored.
The most important thing is, are we interested in the cultivation of mind?
Yes, sir.
No, that is a question that we should ask ourselves. Or
Yes.
are we happy to remain on that level, as I said, Kama Chanda level, responding to the stimulation brought by our senses, like playing ping pong? Or do you want to take our mind to the higher levels, when we can begin to experience the mind at a very intimate level?
Yes.
Good, Rahul bhai.
So constant training is required to the mind
Yes.
at each and every moment.
One quick observation regarding
Watch
this.
and ward over the AV questions, because each moment we are swayed by the questions, greed, hatred, and ignorance. They are the hindrances which prevent us from cultivating the mind.
Good.
Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, Rahul bhai. Yes, bhai.
Yeah. Just the last chapter we read today, and the point number 7 that they're named that at the end in the point number 7, which it is said that which ends in self-surrender. So actually means this is, I think, is related to the selflessness of the Buddhishness. We should means unless and until we surrender ourselves, we cannot reach to the state of Nibbana. So that is a precondition. And in the Mahasathipatthana Sutta or whatever are the meditation practice, in all meditation practice, there is a condition that you should not consider yourself as a self. You should surrender that self.
Yes.
And that is how means the Buddha said that from the lovely friendship, intimacy, you can develop to the eightfold path, and for the eightfold path, you need to the self-surrender. Means actually you are marching towards the Nibbana. There is one tale in the Jain tradition actually. One monk one ordinary fellow want to be admitted to the Sangha. So the master who was having that permission, who asked, just want to taste that fellow and ask him that to play a chess-like game with a monk, and eventually means he find that the new person who want to be admitted to the Sangha is winning into that game. But after seeing that thing, that person deliberately try to get defeated by the other person, because what he think in his mind that whom I am playing with, he is a very renowned person, he is following the Dhamma from such time, and if I will defeat him, there will be big loss. But if I won't be get admitted to the Sangha, that won't be the bigger loss. So only observing that feeling, his love and compassion, that master admits him into that Sangha. Means the moral of this story is that only that loving kindness can be the only quality that can be considered to admit into the Sangha. So that is such a great quality. That means it is explained like that once that quality is there, he can develop all the other qualities which are needed to reach to the Nibbana.
Right.
That's it. Thanks.
Good.
Surrender yourself means take refuge in yourself.
Take refuge in yourself, and when you take
Be
refuge,
your own guide.
but when we take refuge in ourselves, which is not an ordinary self, which is the Buddha. So we can take refuge in ourselves only when we are awakened. Otherwise, we start taking refuge in what is, in the material objects, in the sensual objects. But once we are awakened, we start taking refuge in the Buddha. So taking refuge in yourself is ultimately taking refuge, your own, enlightened state.
Yeah. At the end of the Mukti Kon Pathe, this speech of Baba Sahib, he also says that be your own light, take refuge in reason, take refuge in truth.
Yeah.
Surrender to nobody else but yourself.
Okay, then we have reached to the end of a class today, and we will meet next week and continue with our discussions. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.